You either love rhubarb, or you don't, or you've never had it. In this video, we're gonna make a wonderful recipe for rhubarb sour cream coffee cake. I've made this a few times and haven't got a taste test done because once you have one piece, you might want to go back for a second. I hardly have any self-control with this recipe when I make the cake. I have taken it to my hand quilting friends and they loved it. And they're like, why didn't you film us tasting it? I'm like, I didn't even think about it. It is that good. So today we're gonna make it and get a taste test from my husband as soon as it cools down. We might be heading to the field. So let's get the baking. For the dry ingredients, we need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Then we're going to need a stick of softened butter, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, a half a cup of sour cream, 2 cups of fresh or frozen rhubarb, and the frozen needs to thaw and drain. To our 2 cups of flour, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Then we're going to mix well together. Set that aside. To a larger bowl, we're going to add our 1 cup of sugar, our half cup of softened butter. Then we're going to cream our sugar and butter together till light and fluffy. Then we're going to add each egg one at a time and mix in between. Now look how it looks like butter, whipped butter. That is the consistency you want to go with. Next we're going to add our vanilla. Next we're going to alternate adding our flour mixture and our sour cream. So I'm going to add about a half cup there. I'm going to add a little bit of sour cream. About half. And about half of this. And the rest of the sour cream. And this is going to be a thick batter after they've been chilled. I got chocolate chip cookies on the brain. I saw an article this morning that had like 10 different types of restaurant cookie recipes. So we might get chocolate chip cookies in the future. And we're going to blend this together. Then the rest of our flour mixture goes in. And you don't want to overmix this. In fact, I'm just gonna fold in the rest of the flour. And if you don't like rhubarb, you can just leave that out, but we're definitely putting it in. I think it makes the coffee cake very moist along with the sour cream. All right, and speaking of rhubarb, we're gonna fold that in right now. Then we're gonna start on our crumble topping. We need to dice our butter. I'm just going to cut it into pats, and then cut it into strips, and then cut it into cubes. All right, 1 hour later. Just kidding. So for the streusel topping, we need 1/2 cup of flour, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and a 1/2 stick or 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, cold and cubed. In that order. So 1/2 cup of flour, and your brown sugar should always be packed. We're going to mix this well before we add the butter. And make sure there's no lumps in our brown sugar. But with the Tupperware system, I've never had any issues with brown sugar. All right. Then we're going to add our diced butter. Just want to cover our butter with our mixture like you would be making a pie. The recipe calls for a 9-inch square pan. I don't have a 9-inch, so I'm going to use a 9 3/4. And I'm going to grease the bottom of my pan and the sides using lard. Since our batter is really thick, I'm just going to use a scoop to put it in the bottom of the pan. And you want to put about 1/2 of it in. I'm just going to use an offset spatula to spread it in the bottom. And we're going to take 1/2 of our streusel topping and sprinkle that over our bottom layer without making a mess. Then continue putting the batter on the top. The day that we're filming this, we're having Canadian smoky fire smoke coming through, and it's horrible outside to breathe it in. So we need to pray for anybody that has to be outside for extended periods of time, especially my husband who's trying to get his harvest off. Especially since we had both combines broke down yesterday because it's laying flat because we had a terrible storm on the 4th of July. The worst I've seen in years. In fact, we think we had a straight line tornado come through because we were out in it. And we're very thankful that no one got hurt. And for what I was doing outside, preparing for this storm, I could have been hit by a tree. But yeah, I won't go into more detail because it was a very traumatic experience for me. But everybody's fine. All right. It's sticky, and I don't like sticky hands to begin with. But patience is a virtue. At least what I tell myself that every day. My mom says I have patience. I think that's because I do things that she would never think to do, like sew or quilt. All right, we're just going to go with it. It don't have to be perfect, even for the internet. Because we're real people.
Drink water.
And remember to drink your water today. I remind myself that every day with my phone. Oh dear Lord, give me some grace. Then we're going to sprinkle our streusel on the top. And we're going to get it in the oven. And we're going to bake it for about 45 minutes. Since the recipe is for a 9-inch square pan, and it's telling us to bake it at 45 to 50 minutes, I'm going to check it at 40 minutes to see if the toothpick comes out clean. But if I was using a smaller pan, I would want to cook it longer for 50 to 55 minutes. So you don't always have to have the right equipment. You just have to know what you're working with. Always a good sign. The coffee cake is not photogenic, but boy, it is so moist and so delightful. If you love rhubarb, I want you to try this cake. You won't be disappointed. Howard is combining our oat harvest, so I have to take him his lunch instead of him coming home for lunch. So I have a double chicken patty sandwich with fresh cantaloupe and carrots and cauliflower that came from our garden. And we have our meadow tea and our fresh rhubarb sour cream cake that we just made. So off to the field we go. I do not know what happened when Howard was giving us his opinion on the rhubarb coffee cake. He said it was very moist and he loves it. And now he has to get back to combining in the smoky hills of Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us today, and until the next one, God bless and take care, and remember, God gave you a great day. Now go do something great.